Hillary has been lengthening her excuses as to why she lost the election. She didn't really lose the election. It was stolen from her by, I think it's up to 24 different excuses she has now. Number 24 is content farms in Macedonia. And as I said, my grandfather was a Macedonian content farmer, and we often think about, gathering on the porch and recalling the old days on the Macedonian. He never thought that the old content farmers he left behind in Macedonia would one day steal the U.S. presidential election. They are gnarled, hard-working Macedonian peasants, and the way they were able to reach out...
More whistleblower-type audio tapes continue to surface in Macedonia, pointing to the fact that Zoran Zaev, the assumed head of the Macedonian government and leader of the Socialist Party in Macedonia, is mired deeply in corruption and scandals. While the new law on the public prosecutor basically says that such tapes cannot be used as evidence in a court of law, they are being used in the court of public opinion, now and through the April 12 election. As the scandals continue to unfold, the Western elites not only refuse to say anything about all of this, but continue to actually threaten Macedonians if they even think of trying to reverse the so-called Prespa agreement. Matthew Palmer, a senior deputy State Department official, is in a race with himself to give interviews in which he basically says, quote, "You must not, you cannot change your name back, otherwise it will go badly for you," unquote. It turns the old Monty Python Mafia skit on its head. Instead of threatening someone to get them to take action, like pay protection money, this time they are threatening someone, in this case Macedonia, to ensure that Macedonia takes no action. Palmer, it should be noted, is also a best-selling writer of fiction and thriller novels, with such titles as The American Mission, Enemy of the Good, The Wolf of Sarajevo, and Secrets of State. Makes you wonder where he got his titles. We'll discuss all of this and more on this episode of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. My name is Jason Mitko, coming to you from the foot of the Catalina Mountains in Oro Valley, Arizona.
And this is Cvetin and working hard to avoid the coronavirus in Skopje, Macedonia.
Yes, there was a news item that said that somebody did test positive,
yep.
And then there was negative. So what's the?
No, now we have a confirmed case. A woman who apparently couldn't get treatment in Italy, where she was staying, where it's one of the hotbeds. So she took a minivan to Skopje with, exposing like half a dozen other people to the virus, and sought treatment here. So now we have like 4 or 5 families in Strumica, which are under quarantine because they were, I guess, laborers in Italy and were driving back to Macedonia, and 1 or 2 houses in Skopje, which are under quarantine, and everybody's stockpiling on guns and ammunition and food items and spaghetti.
Wow. I haven't followed it that closely. I guess it's because I'm pretty healthy and everybody I know is pretty healthy. And my understanding is that it's slightly worse than the regular flu. And that if, 1 in 1,000 people die of the regular flu, and it's 23 in 1,000 or so will die of the coronavirus. So if you're a relatively healthy person, you might get sick if you get it, but you're not going to die. And in China, where you've got so many people dying, don't forget that so many people there smoke.
Yeah.
And so they're already in ill health anyway. And I haven't looked at the statistics on the demographics, how many people over the age of 60 there that have got it and died and were smokers and things like that. But it's, I tend to think, as I do with the mainstream media, that they're blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, but the most dangerous thing now is the panic, because we can run out of macaroni and oil and flour and stuff like that.
Well, yes, it's the panic that is caused by the media and others that run around saying that the sky is falling. So the sky is not falling.
I consider this a conspiracy by Big Pasta, because it's spreading through Italy, and think about this a little bit. What you're going to buy in this crisis? Macaroni. So good thing I stockpiled on ammunition since the referendum time. So I'm still covered. I still have leftover from that stash.
There you go. Well, it's been a while since we have recorded this, Cvetin. we both have day jobs. Certainly, since we don't even have a sponsor for this podcast, and if we did, the sponsor would pay for a couple of meals and some good Macedonian wine when I come to visit you and my other friends in Macedonia. That's about all it would take care of. So between our schedules and whatnot, we apologize to our listeners. We haven't been able to get this done. We're recording this on Thursday, the 27th of February. Afternoon there. It's the still kind of early morning here before I go to the office, and well, there we go.
Yeah, you gotta keep lubricated to avoid the virus. Better safe than sorry.
Yes. All right. This will drop tomorrow. Then on Friday, the penultimate day of February. But since we recorded last, and as I mentioned in the monologue, we got more tapes. Whistleblowers have been giving several tapes, I think, to Antonio Miloshovsky of Vomero Topomene, and he has been sharing those with the public. As I said, the court of public opinion. Whereas if the courts in Macedonia won't take this up, then certainly the public will. What are the latest tapes that he's been airing there?
Well, there are 3 tapes by now. 2 of them are classical leaks. The first one, Antonio leaked, given to him by a whistleblower. They're both the audio leaks which Antonio came up with are clearly it's only Zaev's voice, so the person he's talking to is obscured. In the first one, Zaev says, I've talked to Boki 13, Bojan Jovanovski, the main suspect in the racket trial. We discussed his business. I know he's receiving funding from Ciljan Micevski, who's a major businessman in Bitolen, who is now practically claiming that Boki 13 extorted money from him, that he swindled him, took like 750,000 euros from Ciljan and wants them back. So this is the core of the second trial against Boki 13. So the tape proves that Zaev knew about this. He knew that Boki was receiving money in this fashion through a bogus charity company, which is now subject to investigation. So at the very least, Zaev knew. And then he also says that he was helping Boki out in his television, one TV station, which is now defunct, which was also used to extort money from people. So Zaev was also funding Boki. The second tape has Zaev bragging like in this mafia style that he controls Katica Janeva, which is, we all knew about this. That he also controls Jovan Vangelovski, who was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which was used to shut down a few cases which were initiated illegally, obviously, by Janeva. So the court was in the right, but even to do the right thing, they needed to have some political, leverage and backing there. So Zaev basically says, I'm the one who told Vangelovski that these cases are going down. And he seems to be talking to some person from this renegade group of former Vomero members of parliament who wanted their trials to collapse and dissipate. This is the way it sounds like. He might, I can easily imagine him talking to Sasha Mielkov in this case. And he basically says, I'm making these cases against you, which I initiated. Go away. You help me out, presumably with the vote in parliament to end the use of wiretaps in investigations, namely against me. So it's a terrible body blow to the colored revolution people. Zaev insisted that Vangelovski, the judge, is Vomero. He eventually had him removed, but only after Vangelovski decided that a number of cases launched by Janeva after she was no longer allowed to do so are going under. This includes the case against Kamchev and Mialkov about money laundering, which is at the core of the racket scandal. So Zaev is, wheeling and dealing and confirming this, and says nobody so much as moves an inch here without me saying so, which is, exceptionally damaging for him. And then there's the third tape, which was probably the funniest of all. There is like a cache of tapes, which were videotapes, which were made by the Interior Ministry while they were surveilling Katica Janeva and Boki 13 when they were suspected of racketeering. So one of the tapes shows Janeva being driven in the direction of the residence of the U.S. ambassador, the residence of Zaev and the office of Pendarovsky. And then the camera apparently shuts down so as not to show who exactly was Yaneva visiting, which is, very unprofessional for the police agents, but they wanted to keep their jobs. They were scared of what they might find out. There are other interesting tapes, and the most interesting one was just, the prosecutor, she just showed it, but then it was just a couple of journalists who I know who noticed it. So nobody really noticed what's going on. There is a tape, and the prosecutor, Ruskovska, she was keeping quiet throughout this tape, and it shows Zoran Milevsky, the third suspect besides Katica Yaneva and Boki 13, sitting with Vice Zaev, Zoran Zaev's brother.
Wow.
And Zoran Zaev's lawyer as well, Vanya Angelov, who is now, or Andreev, what's his name, who is now involved in marijuana growing with Zaev. So the prosecutor wanted to just sneak this through the court without mentioning, okay, and by the way, here we have, one of the suspects sitting with the brother of then Prime Minister Zoran Zaev, no biggie, next slide. So she just didn't even say this. She wanted this to go away, but somebody noticed this. And now Vice is denying, you didn't see me at the tape. The judge says, I can't say if I was sitting at an awkward angle, I couldn't see it. Well, then let's play it again. Well, no, we can't, that part of the trial is over. So this is how we know it was him. So everything, daily deluge of new evidence showing that Zaev was involved in racketeering and in influencing the court. We knew all of this, of course, before, but now we have it from the horse's mouth.
And as we've been saying throughout the past several months, I don't know, maybe a year or more, this is going to continue, this drip of leaks and tapes and things like that. And of course, that is what, here we are, almost the end of February, we've got about 6 weeks until the elections on April 12. That's what the Macedonian people are going to judge Zoran Zaev and his Socialist Party on.
And find him wanting.
Exactly, right. So they're going to judge him on that. The name issue is still first and foremost in the minds of all Macedonians, but on a daily basis, they're not confronted with the nasty N-word because they don't see it, they don't talk about it, etc. But it's the crime. And as we've talked about in the past, and I saw several stories over the past 10 days about just random. I don't know if they're random. Robberies and shootings and disappearances and all of that stuff is just really on an increase. I lived there for 7 years from 1996 to 2003, and aside from the 2001 conflict and the 1999 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia, regular old-fashioned crime, robberies, murders, shootings, things like that, was almost non-existent. But under this regime, my goodness. So these are the things that they're going to judge him on. But back on the rackets and the tapes and the leaks there that you just mentioned, I see that Boki 13 is still in detention, still trying to get out, but he's still in detention. Ruskovska, I saw a media item that she mentioned that she thought all of the money ended up with him or the journalist that worked for his TV station. Yeah, has anybody asked them about it?
They're going to try and portray the Boki that it's estimated. The realistic estimate is about 20 million from people like Siljan Micevsky, like Orca Kamchev, million from 750 from Siljan, 1.5 mil from Kamchev, God knows how much from the Pelistarka Bitola-based bottling company, hundreds of thousands from a printing house in Kochani, a textile mill in Gevgelia, a construction company in Struga. It all adds up. And, Ruskovska would have us believe that Boki blew all of it on dresses and skirts and Gucci bags in Milan, which he blew some of it. Well, you know how he dressed. I mean, who are we to judge?
That's true. Yes. Yeah.
We're people of the world now. But it's unbelievable that he blew the money on these types of designs and on high haute couture. It's obviously most of it ended up with SDSM, and it's widely expected that the coming leaks will prove that who exactly from Zaev's entourage was coming picking bags of money from Boki's apartment. The infamous movement of the Louis Vuitton bag, which apparently had a GPS device in it. All of this will eventually surface now, hopefully before the April 12th elections. But by now the public, clearly understands who did what. It's evident in the turnout to the two rival protests, the one which Zaev organized after he rammed this law through parliament, which he hopes will protect him on the last day of the parliament, where like hundreds of people just showed up. Nobody from the old Colored Revolution. People from the Colored Revolution, like for example, Bane Koma, the guy who did all their designs, their graphics, who they, he cashed in from the Colored Revolution probably more than anybody else, because these things cost money, printing and designing that stuff. And he actually, not only he wouldn't shut up and say like, I'm not going to this protest. He actually created like a design now to mock Zaev. It's gotten that bad. He was actually laughing in his face like, you're gonna, let me see which other idiot will join you in your protest after you pass this kind of law through parliament, clearly designed to protect him, keep Ruskovska in place, all the other, monkeys, with their eyes and ears and mouths closed in the prosecutor's office. And then, like a week later, Vomero stages a protest after the second audio tape is leaked, and much greater turnout. There were some people bussed in, but not a lot. It was actually mostly Skopje, which should scare Zaev tremendously.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's talk briefly, because I saw also this morning some news that two things actually. A couple of days ago, Zaev said that his party, SDSM, which is the what's that stand for? The
Social Democratic Union of Macedonia.
Macedonia, right? Which, as I love to remind listeners and others, was the League of Communists of Macedonia before 1991. That was the official legal name. But anyway, so the socialists, or his socialists in particular, are no longer going to be considered as a Macedonian party, which I'm sure he got lovely praise from the Western elites, the U.S. Embassy and others there. But so his no longer Macedonian party of SDSM is now making a coalition with Kasimi of Besa.
Yeah.
So apparently they signed a pre-election coalition today. I have to say, I don't like to do ad hominems too often, but Kasimi, he does look like Bela Lugosi. There's a striking resemblance, which is a bit frightening.
Yeah, he could use a little time in the sun.
But this means, though, that obviously that Zaev isn't, and SDSM is not going to, be in a coalition with Dewey now, or even if they were to win the majority of votes and seats, whether or not they'd be in a coalition in the next government, because Dewey and Besa hate each other, right?
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Besa was also very critical of Zaev, calling him a criminal, a crook, and now they're allying with him. Ironically, their names means faith or trust, this word which Albanians love to use, like, you can trust us, you have our Besa, you have my word is my bond, and
honor,
and it's ironic that the party named Word is now breaking its word and siding with the guy who they called a criminal like a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, and that goes to the point that I like to make, and certainly the Western elites who are there and who have come and gone over the many years don't know this or forget it or don't care or something. They probably don't know it. Is you look at Macedonia's history as an independent nation since 1991, and you have this fixture of SDSM and Vomero Dopamine that have always been there. Of course, SDSM, again, was a League of Communists of Macedonia before 1991. But the Albanian parties, they come and they go.
Yeah.
Imir Meri of PDP, PDP used to be one of the biggest ethnic Albanian parties in Macedonia. It's gone. He's dead. DPA, which is Menduthaci now, used to be Arben Jaferi, who's also dead, was the biggest ethnic Albanian party in Macedonia. It's gone. DUI has been around since Ali Ahmeti, the former terrorist and trained Marxist-Leninist in university, has been around as long as he has been there. As soon as he's dead, it will fall apart. I promise you that, because these are not parties based on any type of ideology.
Yeah.
It's just gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yeah, there was a rumor that Ahmeti will be forced to resign, and then that DUI will be forced to join Zaev in a pre-election coalition. It could still happen. Ahmeti apparently still wants to maintain like his own hold on the party, because if he gives his votes to SDSM, they will just mix it all up, and in this case, Zaev might get close to 61 votes if DUI joins him as well, but then DUI is no longer, I mean, it's gone, it's no longer an independent factor. So now Besa decided to join Zaev. This is the pro-Turkish, like Turkish Albanian Erdoganist party, like political Islam party. They would make a point of having the wives of the leaders dress up, show up with the headscarves. They're proposing the ban on gambling places in populated areas, while Zaev is liberalizing sale of alcohol and cigarettes. They might, find common cause on the hatred of the Jews, but other than that, very little in common. Besa was even openly celebrating the end of the coup, the failure of the coup against Erdogan, while Zaev is obviously installed in power by people very similar, forces very similar to the ones who organized, at the very least, the Gezi protests against Erdogan, if not the coup itself. The Alliance of Albanians remains it allied with a smaller party which split from Besa, and basically the alliance is the heir of DPA. So these parties don't fully disappear, but Menduktaci now wants to keep running what was the Besa platform under that logo, and he will also join Zaev in a pre-election coalition. Zaev will have his own SDSM Albanian wing led by another cleric, political Islam person, Muhammad Zakiri. So Zaev will have Muhammad Zakiri from his own party, Besa, and what little is left of DPA's, of Jaferi's and Menduktaci's DPA. But the core of the DPA has now moved to the Alliance of Albanians under Ziadin Sila, and they will be the main opposition Albanian party. They are very unlikely to join Zaev in a coalition. So we can expect them to be a potential partner for VMRO after the elections, if VMRO gets close to 61 or hopefully beyond 61, or obviously DUI is also there. If alliance fails, then DUI will probably have the numbers to decide who will form the next government if VMRO does not get to 61. From a Macedonian point of view, we always appreciate it if the Albanian parties are split up, but now Zaev is enlarging them,
right.
Which will be noticed by ethnic Macedonians. Many noticed that he was signing the treaty today with Albanian flags intermixed with Macedonian flags and EU and NATO flags. So
I'm staring at that picture right now.
Yeah, Macedonians will not like that. So it's going to cost him among the Macedonians.
Well, yeah, and so as you're talking about that, I am thinking, if you're a lifelong citizen supporter and you're thinking about the upcoming elections and you're looking at the state of Macedonia today with the scandals, the rising level of crime in general, as we just talked about, an economy that really isn't delivering. Then on top of that, you have the indignity of having your name taken away, your identity taken away, your history taken away, and then you see the leader of your party, Zoran Zaev, sitting at a desk with the leader of one of the smaller ethnic Albanian parties, and as you just mentioned, behind them the flag of the Republic of Macedonia and the flag of, let's be honest, it's the Republic of Albania. Cvetin, I can't think of another country. If I think about it long enough, I might be able to find one. But off the top of my head, I can't think of of another country where the flag of another country is co-equal with
Yeah.
the sovereign state that you're residing in. I get that that's the symbol, the double-headed black eagle. I get that that's the symbol of Albanians around planet Earth. Okay, fine. But they shouldn't be allowed to fly the flag of the Republic of Albania co-equal with the flag of the Republic of Macedonia and Macedonia. And again, if I'm a citizen voter and I'm thinking, what does this mean? Where's our country going?
Yep.
It's been sold off to the Greeks, to the Bulgarians, now the Albanians, and this man claims to be our leader.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with that block of voters in the upcoming election.
Yeah, you get these people, these urban dwellers, post-national, post-religious people in most Western countries, European countries by now, preaching open borders, the nation is a construct, gender is a construct, whatever, and they do a lot of damage in all the countries where they are established. But this is really a bit much, openly endorsing another nation which does have territorial ambitions and has attacked Macedonia twice. I mean, Albanians on the whole have attacked Macedonians in 2001 and in 2015 in Kumanova, and to still delude yourself with this weird world bromides, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, by the way, I'm halfway through Douglas Murray's book, The Strange Death of Europe, written in 2017, largely about the 2015 migration crisis, legal and illegal, in Europe. So we'll have to have a good discussion about that sometime after I finish reading it. But yeah, your point is well taken, and you're absolutely right. You've got these as you call them, post-nationalist, post-Christian, post-nation state elite in every country in Europe.
But maybe not.
But you can't say them on air.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. They're going through my head right now. And they're the ones that are in leadership positions too often in all of these countries, not just Macedonia. And you know what? And every generation has to fight a group of people like these in every country, and that's just kind of the way it is. So Macedonians have an opportunity coming up on April 12 to send a clear signal to these people. We'll see. What else is going on with the pre-election election? Because the election, let's say, if it's April 12, 3 weeks backwards is what? Last week of March, would it officially start?
The actual campaign starts like 20 days before the elections. But this is this anachronistic rule that obviously everybody's already campaigning big time, even before we officially start the campaign, with two major rallies from both sides and etc. The interesting thing here, we have a number of irregularities regarding the elections, such as, Vemero was supposed to have a minister, two ministers, 3 deputy ministers in the government for 100 days before the elections, and SDSM just went out and removed one of them, Rashila Mizrahi. We discussed her, the anti-Semitic attacks against her, and how she dared to challenge the legacy of the far-left darling Mila Tsarovska in the same Ministry of Labor and Welfare. So this is one major violation. The wholesale arresting of dozens of Vemero officials and blackmailing members of parliament is obviously another enormous violation. The next one, which is coming now, which might happen as early as Monday, is that we might have no television before the elections.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that. What's going on with that?
It's great. Well, Zaev wanted to bribe off the TV stations. They long had a demand that cable operators are supposed to pay them for the high-quality content they provide. And so basically, as the parliament was voting on this ridiculous law to protect Zaev from persecution, from investigation in his case, they also sneaked the media law through, which kind of like creates a whole sets of conditions which the cable operators need to meet, and the end game is to get them to pay a lot of money to the TV stations, and the TV stations then Zaev expects that the big five TV stations, Tilma, Citel, Canal Pet, Alsat, and Alpha, will support him before the elections because they stand to gain like millions from cable fees.
Right.
And the cable
yeah.
operators are big ones,
Right, yeah.
they're big companies, Deutsche Telekom, the Austrian Telekom, etc. So they said, what's German for FU? And they said, we'll just stop broadcasting television and let's see who can, who will come, who will one up the other side in this dispute. So very likely that starting Monday we have television blackout, which I will not notice in my household, but older people probably will.
Good on you. Yeah, I was going to make a comment on Macedonian culture that Macedonians living without TV would be a difficult thing, but frankly, the same goes for the gringos over here in America. People watch too much TV. You make a good point. For the record, I have a TV set.
Yeah.
I use it for Amazon Prime every now and then, but I don't have cable. I don't have Dish. I don't even have rabbit ears for the TV, so I can pick up local stations. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Which is funny, Cvetin, because I'm in public relations for a living. I don't watch TV. I don't read the newspaper. I don't listen to the radio, and I'm not overly fond of people.
Yeah. I was a paid member of a totalitarian body tasked to follow media reporting and report on it, whether it was fair and balanced in 2016. And I couldn't force myself to watch television. I would just go to the agency which, bizarrely records every minute of television ever broadcast in Macedonia, and would sit at the station and just go through like 5-10 hours of select. I knew what to look for, obviously, but I couldn't force myself. Even though I was paid to do this, I couldn't force myself to watch Macedonian television or movies. I'm beyond that.
No, I do consume a lot of news, though. I mostly off of Twitter, Drudge, National Review, and podcasts and things like that. So very well. That's the funny thing is, for the fact that I don't watch TV, I'm infinitely more informed than most Americans about what's going on the planet and in the country. So
I worked in print media. Now television is going the same way. It's a hopelessly outdated vehicle for information.
Yeah. And I also hear that Lake Prespa is drying up.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Very, very ironic and symbolic after the signing of the treacherous treaty.
Well, that's, obviously it's a beautiful lake. Macedonia is blessed with 3 large lakes and numerous small lakes across the country. Why is it drying up?
It's linked to Ohrid. And Ohrid is being emptied out by the Crndrim River, obviously, which is the main energy source for Albania, which hasn't come around to building a proper coal station or anything. They live by Greta rules since communism. And,
Greta rules. I love it.
They're the utopia Greta. Enver Hoxha's Albania was the utopia Greta dreamed of. Basically, if you stop emptying out Ohrid, then Albania goes dark. And we can't do that now that Albania practically runs our country. We had a very warm and dry autumn, moderately dry and, not very little snow during the winter as well. So, there is not enough streams and creeks pouring into and melting of the snow that would replenish Prespa. And as there are underground tunnels underneath the Galičica mountain that empty Prespa into Ohrid, Prespa was in a bad shape when I was last there, like a few years ago already. You can tell the place, which used to be a beach and had like this pier where you could jump off into the lake. It's now completely dry and it's like 20-30 meters from it to the actual where the shoreline is now. It was bad before, and now it's after this autumn and winter. It's dramatic, and everybody says that it can't bear the embarrassment which Nikola Dimitrov and Zoran Zaev imposed on it with signing the treaty. Dimitrov's father said that he cursed his son actually in the 90s before he knew he would do it. He said, "Da musisu shirakata, let the arm of the person who signs off the name withers and dies." And decades later, it turned out to be his own son doing this.
Wow.
And now instead of having his arm dry out, we have the.
There's still a possibility of that.
Yeah. But now we have the lake disappearing.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, pretty ugly
Obviously,
stuff.
we don't want that to happen. We do want the Prespa agreement to go away, though, and we're all working towards that, and that will come in the future, I think. But why don't we take a break and then come back with our farmers picks? Welcome back to the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast, episode 61, recording on Thursday, February 27. This will drop tomorrow on Friday, the penultimate day of February 2020. Cvetin in Skopje. I'm Jason in Oro Valley, Arizona. It is time now for our farmers picks. Cvetin, I thought about this the other week when you were mentioning one of the Macedonian foods that one of our longtime listeners said, please don't do that again. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't pleasant. Then we got into a discussion about other unpleasant foods that we just don't like, that other people might like. But I think we should stay on this theme of food, but good food, because Macedonia has so much good food. So food is a farmer's picks. And so with the... what's the right word? With regards to our longtime listener, we're going to do farmers picks on food, and since this is almost March, spring is right around the corner. It's time for salads, and as you know, I'm allergic to tomato, so I can't eat what your farmer's pick is, and I'll let you reveal it.
But so wonder Macedonia hasn't killed you by now.
That's true. My farmer's pick is tarator salad, which I just love. And for those that don't, tarator is it's a mixture of yogurt and chopped cucumber with garlic and a little bit of crushed walnuts on top. And it's done in different ways. Now, I don't do the garlic because as half Hungarian, the family name comes from Transylvania. You know where I'm going with this. So I actually don't like garlic. So I do it without garlic. But I've been to so many different restaurants throughout all of Macedonia, and it's always fun because when I order a tarator salad, it's slightly different at each one. Yeah. And they're all excellent, and they're all good. And, of course, tarator salad, the best drink that goes with the tarator salad, of course, is mastika. Yeah. And I do make my own tarator here in Arizona when I'm at home occasionally, especially as we move into the spring and summer months, and I do have a pretty good supply of mastika right now. So anyway, tarator salad, that is my farmer's pick. What's yours?
In Bulgaria they treat it as soup. It's on the soup menu.
Yes. Well, yeah, and then actually in Bulgaria, and I kind of like this, and I do this every now and then, they put dill in it.
Yeah, dill would be nice,
I like dill. So occasionally,
And
I
obviously
should do
the
that this
Greeks
weekend.
would say it's Greek salad, tzatziki,
Well, yeah.
which is fake
Bloody
news.
hell. I should do that this weekend.
Yeah, good idea.
I've got a couple of jars of Ivar that I picked up from my little Middle Eastern shop, Biliana. I have to tell you this story. So I was down at my little Middle Eastern shop in Midtown Tucson, and looking for my Ivar, and the gentleman at the counter said, "Oh, we have some very nice Ivar called Mamas. You ought to try it." And I said, "Well, I can't." And then I went into a short discussion of why I couldn't, and he understood, and he said, "Stay strong, brother."
You explained to
so
him
anyway,
the crook who makes the mama cider.
exactly. So anyway, so the brand name I've got, my Ivar is Biliana Ivar. So I can't think of a better meal than a nice big loaf of fresh bread with Ivar and a tarator salad with a little dill
And some white cheese on
mastica.
the Ivar,
Oh, and some white cheese. Yeah, bloody hell.
if you have that. Well, I'm gonna also stick to salads. It's the Lent is coming, and the other major salad we have here would be the Shopska salad, which, its name comes from Bulgaria. They're the Shopi tribe around Sofia, and it's basically it has tomatoes, which obviously now you can have, and cucumbers, red onions or any kind of onions you like, sometimes peppers, green peppers. I think they're called Italian peppers in the US. And on top of this, you grate white cow's cheese or mixed cheese, whichever you prefer. And obviously vinegar and olive oil or just regular. And that's good eating here.
Absolutely. And what would you drink with that?
Well, depends on the season. For me, mastica is exclusively summer drink, and now in this period between spring and autumn, I would have rakia more often, and then in the bleak winter, it's only whiskey or bourbon, nothing else.
That all sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm very specific about my drinking habits.
Good. Well, I'm hungry already, and it's I just had breakfast, but I would like to have some of what we just talked about, but that's gonna have to be for the afternoon. So.
Yeah.
All right. It's I got to run to the office here and earn a living. You've got things you gotta put this podcast together. You're a producer.
Yeah, and continue my staying at home, avoiding the deadly virus.
Absolutely.
That's on my agenda.
All right. Well, good to catch up with you. I'm not sure if we're going to do another podcast this weekend. We'll see what the news brings, etc. And we will talk to you later.
Sure thing. Take care, buddy.
You too.